Let's look at other teams. A composition I had not calculated in my first video is Clorinde Overload. As things stand, the Nicole variant of the team is inside grade territory if she's replacing Fischl. Without a second electro, Clorinde can burst as easily, and also Chevreuse buffs take a big hit in the first rotation. Nicole brings more than enough benefits to compensate for those things, but not enough to be a super significant upgrade.
100k DPS. Apparently, that's what we should be expecting out of a Cloverload team at KQM standard. And for the past week, I was getting very confused by this calc suggesting that this team would reach 100k DPS with cheaper weapons. Because I've tried this team numerous times in the simulacrum and I barely get more than that. I of course have far more than KQM standard investment for the characters of this team. I have C1R1 Clorinde. I'm usually using a 5-star weapon on Fischl. Granted, I only have level 80 Fischl because I'm incredibly lazy, but still, in an Overload team, I don't think this is going to make a huge difference. And I have R5 Wolffang on Durin. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure I have far more artifact investment quality than what would be considered standard KQM investment, although I'm not quite sure what the actual artifact quality of KQM standard is. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you actually know this off by heart. Hello everyone, welcome back. Just want to remind you all to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that your support can help combat the dreaded YouTube algorithm. Now, be it on stream or off stream, I have tried to run the Cloverload team in the simulacrum and, well, here's what we see. I seem to be getting wildly different results depending on whether I have, of course, my R5 Skyharp on Fischl or the spare Aqua instead. So in this case, I'm using R5 Skyharp. I'm also following the prescribed rotation on the TGS video to basically a T, but there is a big difference because a lot of people have been suggesting to run EEQ Durin, but I don't do that for a few reasons. Number one, usually my ult is probably already ready, so using his skill again while your ult is already ready pretty much neuters the big energy gain that you actually get from his skill. Second reason is that it also gives Durin more of a likelihood of maxing out those Wolffang stacks that I have on him, although I suspect EEQ also does seem to work even if you swap out of him as soon as you can. I have noticed that his ult doesn't seem to not crit for some reason, so maybe it's also working. And then thirdly, depending on the team, especially this one, I could always just funnel the pyro particles to someone else because they end up being spare. Normally, I'd rather delay Clorinde's ult until I'm done popping off with her gun, since I'm using Absolution, which is of course a weapon that gives up to 48 damage % whenever Bond of Life goes up. So having that available for her ult would make a fair bit of sense, but apparently according to the Akasha system, her ult is around about 10% of her total DPS anyway, so I'm not too fussed about using her ult early as is prescribed in the rotation. But as we're wrapping up this particular demonstration, you will find that I didn't even break 100k at the end of the 2-minute period. We're mainly hovering between 98k and 103k, which is suspiciously close to what TGS's calc would suggest this team to do at KQM standard. What's going on? This was the question that I was asking myself for the past week, and only after looking a little bit closer at the graphic did I finally realize what I was actually doing wrong. It had Durin on the new Hexarray scroll set. It's called Celestial Gift. Essentially, the idea with this artifact set is that in a Hexarray team, everyone gets 40 damage % for the elements that the holder of the set and the current on-fielder are. And the holder has to be Hexarray themselves, I'm pretty sure. So because Cloverload is an on-field Clorinde team, we pretty much have to put Celestial Gift on Durin. Because putting it on Fischl, as I would have rather hoped, would result in Durin himself actually not getting the damage % because he's not going to be on field, and Clorinde, famously, is not a pyro character. So at least in this team, I'm pretty keen to get Nicole. I don't know if TGS ever made a Cloverload calc prior to this one, but I could see a new support set that gives everyone a bunch of damage % to be something that gives us enough of a buff to get well over that level of DPS. So I'll revisit how well the Cloverload team works with this new set when I get a similarly strong Celestial Gift set for either Nicole or Durin. probably Durin, despite me preferring to use the Hexarray DPS set on him, but we'll just have to see how it all turns out. In the meantime, I also wanted to point out that the Cloverload team, as prescribed by a lot of TCers, might not necessarily be the strongest available Cloverload or Cloverload variant, depending on your various levels of investment. So looking at what I have on my side at least, Cloverload but with Miko over Official, it's 108.5k DPS for me, thus making it an overall stronger team. We do sacrifice some DPS from Clorinde and Durin in favor, of course, the huge DPS that someone like C5R1 Miko can provide, and more, of course, if and when I get her C6. Clorinde burn load with C2 Nahida instead of Chevy, that's 112k DPS for me. Now, this was a team that a friend of the channel, GaySD How, had brought to my attention, so shout out to them. Because of the immense amount of Electro app from both Clorinde and Official, the Burning Aura almost immediately disappears, so it kind of just basically becomes a quicken team with an extra step or two. Despite that, Durin can still get the Dendro, Pyro, and Electro Red Shred happening because we're triggering an Overload. That pretty much sorts out the Electro side, and then of course Burning sorts out the Dendro and Pyro side. Because it's essentially a quicken team with Clorinde on fielding, Official gets to pop off really hard because, of course, famously, her Undone Be Thy Sinful Hex passive. Deepwood or GT on Nahida seems to result in very similar DPS, so, feel free to use whichever one you want. For some inexplicable reason though, I am actually doing better with TF Clorinde and thus having longer rotations than with Whimsy Clorinde. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. But either way, this is kind of making me like the team a lot more. Either way though, I'm not getting full value from Kagura's Verity on Nahida, so that's a little bit disappointing. Thanks to Nahida's C2 though, we are getting some Death Shred, which of course buffs everyone's DPS. I also want to mention that Emily works as an alternative to Nahida. It's interesting because Emily and C2 Nahida seem to do very similar personal DPS in this team, but the Emily version ends up being a team DPS loss, again, because of the loss of the Death Shred, thus the loss of the buff for everyone else's DPS. I did also try the Malwika variant of Cloverload, but that seems to be weaker than the official Durin variant, at least in my experience. I wonder if I'm doing something wrong again. This seems to be a pattern that I run into. So I'm pretty sure this is Zajev's preferred Cloverload variant, but I just don't really know. Look, in summary, for the last week I was wondering if TCing and calcs were broken as hell, but now realizing that what I'm missing, I'm back to being largely ambivalent about them. I'm looking forward, of course, to farming the new Hexarray support set so that it really is as big of a buff to Clorinde teams as the calc suggested is, then of course that will make those teams perform better, so we'll just have to see if the calcs actually line up and I end up doing, at least with my level investment, far more than like 100k DPS. We'll just have to see. Because not only will this particular artifact set be a buff to those teams, but also a variety of other teams involving Nicole or Durin for that matter. Of course, that will depend on how I play those teams, because when I'm thinking about, let's say, a burning team, I'm probably going to have to play Emily on field, and that's going to be a little bit weird. So we'll just have to figure out how that all turns out. So long as there is nothing to indicate that the simulacrums themselves are broken, well, at the end of the day, I will be using that data a little more than various people's calcs, just as like some sort of indication of the truth, if you will.
Final warning! On my hook! Wrath from the sky! You asked for it! Drop your weapons! Stun them! Pyroclastic surge! Incinerate! Right! Time to testify. Loaded. Justice will prevail! Let's light up the blazing sun! Full throttle! Hunt them down! Ready!
Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. How much DPS are you doing with your Cloverload team at the present moment? And if you are, of course, watching this video a lot later, when the Hexarray support set is out, how much DPS are you doing with the new artifact set on your team? let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Genshin Impact action. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Shoot on sight into the shadows.
Moon's gold. Keep it up. I'm still collecting data.
Grow, grow, grow! Make yourselves at home!
Okay. New life. Midnight Phantasm.
Hunt them down.